live action version of Cowboy Bebop because, well, that's a thing that exists now.
So this is actually happening. We're going to let this happen.
And I gotta say,
it stinks.
But is that a surprise to anybody? I don't really think anyone thought this was going to be that great, especially given the fact that it is an adaptation of a story that, quite frankly, is already a masterpiece. The original Cowboy Bebop anime from 1998 never needed another adaptation. It's not something that any anime fan ever wanted to see happen. And if you read any reviews or see any reviews that say anime fans have been waiting forever for this, clearly they don't know anime fans.
We could make an original game.
What? Make an original? Why would I do that when I can make a sequel? IPs and sequels. That is the thing that people want.
You don't need to remake something that's already perfect. What's the point? So clearly, I don't know what they were thinking with this. I mean, at the very least, I can see that they tried. I mean, I'll give them that. I think they really did have good intentions going into this, but that's the best I can say about it. So anyways, I thought I would come on here and give my thoughts. But let's be honest with ourselves, people. Has there ever been any really good live-action anime adaptation? No, they've all been pretty shit, and that includes Eastern and Western adaptations, even though the Eastern adaptations have been slightly better. I mean, all the Western adaptations, the ones coming out of Hollywood, have certainly been just hot garbage.
My name is Ang, and I'm the Avatar.
I'll give credit to where credit is due when it comes to Alita Battle Angel, because I didn't really particularly like that movie, but it's probably the best one that has been ever created, at least by Hollywood. You could even put in there Edge of Tomorrow, but that one kind of doesn't really count because it was so far removed from the original source manga that it came from. Then there's the live-action Ghost in the Shell, which had its own controversies for other reasons. I mean, it has good graphics and everything, but that's really all you can say about it. And the Eastern adaptations, they've suffered because, well, they just really don't have the production value. But that being said, it would be a huge mistake to go into watching this new version expecting it to be anything like the original. Adaptations need to be able to stand on their own and be judged on their own merits, which would be very difficult for those who have an extreme attachment to the source material. Personally, I don't have any nostalgia for the original since I didn't watch it in its entirety until recently. I mean, don't take away my weeb card or anything. I always meant to, but I just never got around to it. I've been watching anime practically all my life, and for some reason, it just slipped through the cracks. But when I finally did, I got why it's so beloved. The anime should be praised and credited for so many elements, like its ability to seamlessly blend multiple genres. We have sci-fi, western, neo-noir, and its ability to juggle multiple tonal shifts, going from super serious and gritty one episode to more lighthearted, goofy adventures in the next. And even though it's not as highly praised in Japan, I certainly see why it's known for being one of the best anime shows ever made. Its significance to Western audiences come from it being a gateway to the medium as a whole. If you're new to the medium of Japanese animation, it can be hard to know where to start, and Cowboy Bebop is such an easy show to begin with its tightly told story told over the course of 26 episodes, and one in-betweener type movie as a bonus. The English dub was the first English-dubbed anime to air on Adult Swim in the early 2000s, and is widely considered to be extremely well done, arguably the best ever. Even the director Watanabe loves the English dub. That being said, this really isn't supposed to be a video about the original. That stands on its own, and there are multiple videos out there that go over in detail the greater themes and the merits of the original anime. I would just recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, just go watch it, especially if you're about to watch this live-action version. If you haven't seen it and you go into the live action version, I think that would significantly aid in your enjoyment of this new one. But because these two shows are so vastly different in the themes, the tones, the characters, the stories, the setting, and the world that they depict, you're gonna come out of it enjoying it for something completely different than a person who would have come out of enjoying the original, because they really have nothing in common with each other except for the name Cowboy Bebop and the names of the characters. So let's jump in by first pointing out some of the positives, because to its credit, there are some, and I think that should be stated, because it can't just all be negative, right? The first positive is going to be the most obvious, the music. Yoko Kanno is back, and so is her iconic jazz compositions from the original, with some slight variations and remixes throughout. There would be no Cowboy Bebop without her soundtrack, and the smartest thing they could have done was to keep the original music. However, at times I could really tell when they use a piece of music for something in the live-action version in a way that wasn't originally intended, which is no fault to Kanno. Her original songs were tailor-made to fit seamlessly with specific scenes, capturing an emotion of a character or a place blending to the weight of a scene, just like a character would, because the sounds of jazz really were a character unto themselves. It's like having a world-renowned designer make a couture gown and then taking it into an inexperienced and ill-equipped tailor that you found on Craigslist, in this case being the live-action team, and asking them to alter it to fit someone with vastly different measurements. The end result is never going to fit like it would for who it was originally made for. It even sounds super cheesy at times, laid over the live-action scenes. Next up would be the costuming, and overall it was pretty good, staying pretty faithful to the source material. Although I'm surprised they didn't take advantage of the live-action medium and give the characters more costume changes. The big change to the main cast, of course, is Faye, and I really don't care either way. Even if you love it, the original outfit was incredibly impractical. I mean, that's the beauty of anime, though. Some character designs simply won't translate well to live action without looking ridiculous on a real person. I mean, come on, shiny yellow latex, flesh-colored thigh-high stockings that miraculously stay in place without garters, useless suspenders that go underneath her top so they would surely cut into her boobs, a slouchy red jacket, and light-colored boots. It looked great on anime Faye, but it would look ridiculous on a real person that isn't doing cosplay. I mean, shout out to all the cosplayers out there. You look amazing, but I just don't think it would have looked practical in a show without some minor alterations. Now, they didn't have to go to the extremes that they did go to, because I think the new version is also unattractive, but oh well. It's certainly less sexy, but in no way more fashionable. It's just kind of a meh for me. They could have at least kept the headband because that was cute. And even though I wasn't a fan of the OG outfit, I didn't care for the way the actress released that condescending video talking down to fans of the original, because I know some were really offended by that, and to me, it just doesn't really seem like a smart PR move to offend the fans that you really want behind you before you even release the show. I really don't understand what's with this whole trend of especially actors and creators coming out to attack the fans of the original property. Don't you want the fans to be behind you before you come out with a new version of something they already love? What's the point of insulting your target audience? Another positive could be the set designs of the interiors, which I really felt were pretty spot on, especially the inside of the Bebop. The exterior shots, however, not so much. Every time they were outside, it was pretty obvious that it was on a soundstage or a backlot. Everything looked pretty flat, fake, and broke the immersion pretty quickly. They never seemed to change up any of the lighting schemes, and it just seemed pretty fake, and it was pretty obvious, so... And then we get into the cast, which actually I think the cast did pretty well with their respective roles, at least when it comes to the roles they are trying to portray, which have nothing to do with the original anime counterparts. First up, we have John Cho as Spike Spiegel, and this version of Spike is noticeably older, more jokey, more talkative, and far less competent. He's slightly charismatic and laid back without that boyish charm that the anime Spike had. Overall, it's just a diet version of the character, but I don't think John Cho is at fault for that. I usually like him, but I'll take the anime version of Spike over this any day. His introduction with the coin flip kick is hilariously cheesy and set the tone for me being unable to take the character seriously. which is a shame because when the original needs to be serious and dark, it goes there in a way that really packs a punch with the emotional beats. This version is just a goofy, wisecracking former assassin who's still hung up on his ex. Oh yeah, and his former nickname is Fearless because it wasn't bad enough they needed to give us the ballad of Fearless and Vicious. And I'm sorry, I just can't take that duo seriously. Then we have Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black, and he's fine, he certainly looks and sounds the part, but the baffling incorporation of an ex-wife and a daughter to his backstory seems to come out of nowhere. It would have made sense if he wasn't already a fully fleshed out character, but he was good as he was. This wasn't needed. It also is done in a way that makes him appear like an absentee father instead of a strong, competent former cop now turned bounty hunter with those principles still intact who is the most stable one of the crew. He's obsessed with getting a gift for his daughter's birthday, and the writers really, really want you to know about it. So much so that it becomes a running gag that it just isn't funny.
Kimmy has a birthday coming up, and you wouldn't believe how much a kid's doll cost. Suddenly, you give a shit about the rules.
No, that...
Right when I need the dough to buy my daughter a birthday present?
Jet.
You don't want my daughter to have a birthday?
Supplies are limited, so check with your local retailers. Don't miss out on this extraordinary offer.
Come and get me.
I swear this doll, she's mocking me.
Come and get me.
Hey!
I'm walking Sally. I walk and talk and want you.
God damn it.
It's one of the many examples of the writers trying to jam in dumb comedy that ultimately dumbs down the characters and treats the audience like we're idiots.
God damn, Spike! You're supposed to wait for my signal!
I was wondering when you'd show up.
Sounds to me like blackmail.
You're damn right it is, because, Jet, you are black and you are male.
So pack up your bags, princess, because daddy wants you home. No.
Wait.
No.
You're...
She's Katarina Montgomery?
She's Katarina Montgomery.
They fly now! They fly now!
The banter between Jet and Spike in this version is much more antagonistic than it was in the anime. Everything about his character read as being really goofy to me, which is a shame because the anime version of him is so likable and stable, at least stable as you can get for a group of people who are living day to day, job to job, trying to heal from the wounds of their past lives. And then we come to Faye Valentine. Oh, Faye. Yes, the only thing they kept about Faye is that she has amnesia and crosses paths with the Bebop crew. That's it. This version of Faye isn't a con woman. Oh, no. She's a badass bounty hunter already and doing it all on her own. They drop her into the middle of the first episode without any setup and erase the great introduction we had to her in the anime version. She knows how to fight with knives now because... reasons. And comes off so incredibly entitled and annoying. She swears a lot too now, and not the kind that sounds natural and cool, the kind that is forced and aggressive.
Hey, fuck you. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We got him on the wrong foot. Get on the door.
Like, yeah, I don't blame Spike and Jet for not wanting her around. Oh, and she don't need no man, and that includes in the bedroom because she's gay now, by the way. Or at least bi. Which there's nothing inherently wrong with that, of course not. But it's introduced in a way that is so incredibly obvious that it had me rolling the entire time. The second they introduced the female mechanic, because of course it's a woman, and Faye strolls into the ship, I knew it was go time. The flirting is so incredibly cringy, and the whole orgasm conversation was so poorly paced and not needed. I get it. Men bad, women good in this universe. Doing this eliminates Faye's need to use her feminine wilds to pull con jobs. She's no longer a femme fatale. They also tried to give her jokes, and I just didn't find any of it funny, except it was fun to laugh at her, not with her. There was a lot of that during the show, laughing at and not with. She gets shot in the shoulder in the second appearance, and she's just fine a second later. So she also has magical powers, apparently, because the wound closes up and she's moving about freely the next scene. Whatever, I can't take this show. Plus, of course, they make her better at everything than Jet and Spike. In one of the middle episodes, her and Spike spend the entire time having a dick-swinging competition to prove who's better at bounty hunting, comparing scars and making Spike come off as if he doubts her abilities just because she's a woman.
Wow, what's with all this we shit? We took, we napped. Sounds like chicken shit to me, 'cause me, solo. And I'm like a little girl.
The original Spike would never have presumed a woman was lesser than him, but of course she wins by providing proof of a high-valued bounty she bagged all on her own, in a way that is so in your face to the audience, like, see, I'm awesome.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, she wasn't supposed to already be a bounty hunter when they meet her, but all of that development has gone out the window in this version. And to be clear, I'm not blaming the actress for the changes because she's fine in the version of the character. I'm saying I don't care for the direction they chose to take Faye. They obviously thought they needed to fix her, but I don't think she needed fixing. Of course, this is in keeping with the strong female character trend we keep seeing that turns multi-layered, three-dimensional, flawed characters and turns them into carbon copies of what modern-day Hollywood execs and writers think make a good female lead. They want them to be bold, brash, independent, smarter than everyone else in the room, ridiculously strong to the point they can take down grown men more than half their size, gay or at least bisexual, and better than every man they cross paths with. It's just so boring at this point. One of the great examples that happens to do strong characters that happen to be women that have come out lately would be Arcane. Phenomenal show, probably the best game-to-screen adaptation ever made, and I can't recommend it enough, but that's a video for another time. Oh yeah, did I mention Ein? I feel like I don't have to because you can't get that wrong. It's a dog. He's cute, but now, he can project holographic messages from his eyes like R2-D2, so that's cool. Moving on to the changes made to the side characters that didn't do them any justice, for the one-off characters, it alters most of their places and significance so much that I don't know where they can go from here if it gets another season. The changes are so significant that you can't do half the storylines from the anime that were left on the cutting room floor. For a show that so clearly put gender politics and social ideology over the importance of telling a good story, they took one of the best one-off characters from episode 1 of the anime
Adios.
Katerina, listen to me. It's over. There's nowhere to go.
Just like you said, right? It's time to wake up.
I know so many find it odd nitpicking at what seems like such a minor character, but I use it to demonstrate a running theme that I noticed. They erased the areas where the original was incredibly diverse, inclusive, progressive, and ahead of its time to shoehorn in their own modern messaging. I also really liked how in the original anime she was clearly a Latina, with the English voice acting doing a superb accent, but in this version, she's a white woman with a British accent. I saw that a lot actually. This version somehow came off as being a lot less inclusive and diverse than the original. Every character in the anime, no matter how small a role, had a purpose and meaning behind them. In this version, Annie is turned into Anna. She was an associate of the Syndicate and part of Spike's past that he still cared about, but in the new version, she's turned into the owner of a John Wick-esque speakeasy for the Syndicate, and Gren works for her because reasons. Annie is another sassy, independent woman who doesn't take any crap from men, so much so that she slaps Spike in the face when she sees him again.
Ow. 3 years. 3 years! You let me believe you were dead.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I needed to see. Faye kicking Spike in the balls while besting him in a fight, and Annie slapping him in the face. Speaking of Gren, I don't even know what to say about this version. By bumping them up to a character who works for Annie's bar, a bar in which Vicious regularly visits, there's no giving them the same gripping backstory and nuance as they do in the anime, which is a shame because the 2 episodes that center on them in the mid-arc of the anime are so well done and well paced. Plus, it works to give a small glimpse into Vicious's backstory. This version of Gren is just there to look good and pour drinks, which is just a shame. And then all the side villains are also hilariously incompetent. And to be fair, there was plenty of that in the anime, but it was a balance. There were some who worked well in more goofy, lighthearted episodes for comic relief, but there were the ones who were legitimately menacing. None of that is in the new version. All the one-off bounties are ridiculous and laughable, but again, it's the kind of laughing that had me laughing at and not with. And then there's Lin, Shin, and Mao. Lin and Shin are turned into comical bodyguard henchmen in matching uniforms. Why do the Syndicate henchmen wear matching bad guy outfits? I don't know, it's stupid. The changes to them aren't a big deal, but there's no way they can use them in the same way they're supposed to be used later in the original story. Oh well, I'm pretty sure I saw them get taken out in the finale anyway, so it doesn't matter. Plus, for, again, reasons, Shin is a woman. And speaking of gender swapping, just when you think there hasn't been enough, Mao is a woman now too, and given a bigger role. But another running theme of this version is a bigger role isn't always better, which leads me into the worst and cringy characters of the show, Julia and Vicious. Vicious and Julia are now married. Why? Well, who cares? It doesn't help the story one bit. I get that some feel that these two weren't given much to do, but I never thought that was a bad thing, because when they are on screen, whether that be in flashbacks or real time, it was gripping and well done. They don't need to be seen all the time. Julia and Vicious are the last remaining thread connecting Spike to his past self, who he used to be, a life he's left behind, literally after faking his own death. But he can't break free completely. He is haunted by the ghosts of his past, like all the Bebop characters are. They carry the weight of their past with them. Julia was such a cool character in the anime, the little that we got to see her. During the after show, Elena Satine called this version of Julia a terrified caged bird, a woman who finds her strength and uses her savvy to navigate into this badass position of power. But that completely takes away any agency and independence the original character had. She was a woman who went from choosing to be with one criminal, Vicious, to falling in love with Spike, then choosing to go into hiding rather than kill him for her own freedom. She now is a bruised and battered woman under the control of Vicious, and resents Spike for leaving her behind when she finds out that he's still alive. Plus, I love how she's the one who gives Vicious the idea for the coup against the Syndicate, because of course she is. And then there's that ending, but we'll get to that. So Vicious.
What happened to your shirt?
What was once a menacing and mysterious foil to Spike is now a hilarious cartoon villain that no one would ever be able to take seriously.
Mushy mushy.
Hello, Vicious.
No offense to actor Alex Hassel, because he was probably told to be this over the top, but my god, how much more cringe can you get? For anyone who thought Vicious needed to be more of an active antagonist to the overall plot, I strongly disagree. Vicious is so rarely seen in the original because he isn't a big bad looming over our main cast of characters plotting world domination. He is the physical embodiment of the past Spike is trying to outrun but keeps coming back to. Not every villain needs to have a backstory unpacked. Every time live-action Vicious was on screen, he made me laugh and cringe. OG Vicious was a calm, cool, intimidating man of few words. In this, he was an incompetent, unimpressive, insecure baby man in a bad wig with daddy issues.
Well, they disrespected the Syndicate. They disrespected you. I couldn't let that...
Because you are no man at all.
Baby man, little baby man, little baby man, little baby man.
Some of his most iconic lines are used in ways that don't pack the same punch at all.
And you will shed tears of scarlet.
And you will shed tears of scarlet.
His signature animal companion is gone, which I get for budget and practical reasons, but doing away with it changes the significance of him sacrificing it during the coup to take down the Syndicate. And speaking of the Syndicate, They are dumb guys in old, ridiculous, and borderline offensive ceramic masks now. And one of them is a woman because, of course, and the other is his dad. Everything about this version of the character is ridiculous, over the top, and what's with the fish market aquarium thing? I mean, did they get that from a How to Write a Bad Guy guidebook?
Quiet down, fish.
All I can think of is great, now only does his personality stink, but so does he hanging out around dead fish all day. Oh, and did I mention the CW-esque backstory episode? Yes, we are treated to what Fearless and Vicious were like back in the day, matching ponytails and lowbrow ball-shaving conversations at all.
What's that song? Julia.
Steel glistening wet as it pulls across the flesh. Knowing that with a simple flick of the wrist, veins will open, blood will flow. It's ecstasy.
Let me get this straight. You let a woman shave your balls with a straight razor?
Well, I was gonna let a man do it.
I don't want any of that.
Long gone are the poetic still moments and deep character interactions, and in their place a version that has dialogue dedicated to orgasms and ball shaving. Well done, guys. This leads to the changes made to the story and order of events. They switch things around in a way that doesn't add anything, it just takes away. The way it's ordered now, with Vicious taking out the Syndicate super early before what was meant to be his first encounter with Spike in years, will have to lead them into creating new material revolving around Julia being in charge. And what that means for Vicious, I don't know. Maybe they're setting up Spike having to kill her, a la Jon Snow, Game of Thrones style, because it worked so well for them in that show.
You are my queen. Now and always.
It all comes to a head in the finale when not only does Jet's daughter get kidnapped off screen, yeah, that tracks, but surprise, surprise, Jet and Spike go to rescue her and get abducted themselves. And who's there to save them? Why, it's Faye. Because she can't be the one who's used for leverage to lure Spike to the church like in the original. That would put her into a damsel in distress role, and we can't have that. It has to be Faye to the rescue. The scene is just so dumb, and we get this little number.
Welcome to the ass, motherfuckers!
Then the big face-off happens between Spike and Vicious. Keep in mind this scene happens in episode 5 of the anime, but in this version it's the finale of season 1. And who shows up to swoop in to take out both our leading men? Julia. Screw freedom, she's reclaiming her power and taking on the role of girl boss. Can't with this show. So she shoots both her former lovers, tying one of them up and leaving the other to fall to his death. Of course, Spike comes to, gets kicked to the curb by Jet, and stumbles across the moment everyone's just been waiting for. The question on everyone's mind, where is Ed?
Spike! Spike Spiegel!
No.
What a unanimously disastrous day this is turning out to be!
You Spike! Cowboy! Bounty hunter for hire! Wake up! I have a job for you! A bounty!
Boo! Danger, danger! We have to find Velazio before he does spooky bad things.
Stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
Look, this character is probably never going to translate well, especially in the wrong hands. I don't get it. You made pointless changes to characters that didn't need to be changed, but you choose to be as faithful as possible to Radical Edward? This is the one you should have taken creative liberties with. None of the blame should be put on the actress, of course, and no one should come after her for it. This was the fault of the adults, the showrunners, the writers, and the directors for this. Everything about this scene was bad. The fisheye, the god-awful wig, the over-the-top in-your-face, and in this case in Spike's face, tone of voice, and the dumb dialogue. I get it that even the anime version of Ed can be off-putting to some, but I never found her annoying. You should have toned her down for this. And for anyone who says it's impossible to do her right, I give you Lilu from The Fifth Element. Just do that, but in kid form. And if you hadn't quite figured it out yet, you shouldn't have shot this scene as is. Have her voice just be heard in the background, or a shot of her taking control of the Bebop from a distance while Jet is trying to take off. Then it would give you a whole year to figure it out how to do it right if there's going to be another season. It's one of those scenes you can't unsee, and is the worst possible ending you could have given to a show that was already running on fumes. Oh yeah, before I go, I forgot to touch on the overall cinematography of the show, and to me, I thought it looked quite cheap. There's nothing more that really can be said. Seriously though, I mean, people don't give more credit to the art direction in animated works for the way they compose their scenes and angles, because the original does this all beautifully well. The way they originally play with different angles, shading, the lighting, the fluid fight scenes, it's all so much better in the OG version. Now that being said, if they were going for that cheesy spaghetti western and retro martial arts movie from the 80s and 90s vibe, I guess they succeeded, but to me it just made the whole thing come off as a big joke and forgettable. Maybe that's what they wanted us to walk away with, though. This version seemed to want to be a lighthearted, cheesy Nickelodeon meets CW meets Tarantino superfan kind of vibe. One that you'll binge watch in a day and forget about the next. And it's a shame that so many may come away thinking that's all Cowboy Bebop can provide. If you did watch both, I hope you can see the differences in the themes, tones, and lasting takeaways, because the original Cowboy Bebop is the kind of story that so many continue to come back to time and time again. To me, Cowboy Bebop is supposed to be a slice-of-life sci-fi western about a ragtag group of lost souls trying to make it day by day in a galaxy that has dealt them a shitty situation and forced them to come to terms with their past or else be swallowed up by it. They're all broken or missing pieces of who they once were, but they have to continue to move forward. It's also an amazing piece of art that has stood the passage of time. In a world of entertainment filled with shallow reboots, remakes, and reimaginings,
you stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it.
I'm glad we can have the originals to hold on to and revisit to fill the emptiness left behind from watching one of these new versions. You don't have to remake something that was already perfect.
If it's a remake of a classic, rent the classic.
I have no hope for the live-action versions of things like One Piece, Gundam, and Avatar. Well, Avatar, we've already seen a really bad adaptation. I don't know why they're rolling the dice to make another one. But I guess the answer is money. If the reviews for this versus hits like Arcane are any indication, I'm glad that more people in the West are discovering the merits that the medium of anime and animation can bring to mature storytelling. Time will tell if those in Hollywood will ever get there, though. I highly doubt it.
Uh-oh, the jig is up.
But in closing, those are my thoughts. And of course, you're entitled to your opinion, and if you did like it, I genuinely would like to know why. I have friends who liked it, and we can agree to disagree like normal common sense individuals with differing opinions. Personally, I hope it doesn't get another season. I hope they get the hint like they did with Jupiter's Legacy, which funny enough did better with audiences review-wise than this show, even though I couldn't muster the strength to finish that one because it was just so god-awful. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed my ranting, I'd appreciate a like if you want to see more of my takes on things like sci-fi, fantasy, and anime. I hope you're doing well out there, and I'll see you next time.